Hello friendos and randos, welcome back to the Grand Asia Open Final. Now we're going to see Game 2 of the Swiss rounds. Well, not really Swiss, I guess it's a round robin. And here we are looking at Vespa again on that blue Nami versus... Not sure. Not sure, they haven't updated his name yet, but it is Blue Purple Luffy. On the 3-down turn, he does drop a Usohachi on board, so immediately leaving some way to clear this one cost Nami that Vespa played on 2-don. So Nami does go for that 1k swing, looking at the top 5 for a blue event card to add to hand. Blue Purple Luffy's name is Yin, by the way, so we are looking for the options available here. I do see a Sanji's Pilaf in the hand of Vespa. So in here, making a good play, dropping that Usohachi on the board because he knows he doesn't really need counter in this matchup. He's not gonna die like ever. So there is just gonna be that Usohachi to help him clear bodies like this one cost Nami, which can be very irritating to leave on board, because even if it isn't gonna do damage, you are gonna be forced to swing into it with your leader. So actually very fortunate for Yin to draw one of his very few 3-cost options. Of course, Zorojiro would have been great as well, but is not an option in this time. So it is going to be Impel Down All-Stars actually searched by Vespa here. I wonder if that's because the remaining events aren't good, or just weren't other events available for him. And just a reminder, Yin here is a blue deck and will probably be running that Charlotte Pudding. We do of course want to be able to see the stack, however Charlotte Pudding will be able to mess all of that up. Here's the 3k swing from the Usohachi, blocked by that PRB Marco we saw earlier, and there comes the Usohachi and then leader swing into that Nami. Now 5-cost Nami for Yin, developing another body, which is still very good. Also means that Vespa has to invest at least 1 Don if he wants to clear this Usohachi in return. If not, that Nami will be getting a free block off. So Yin thinking about whether to put 2 cards on top or bottom of his deck. Does go for the top. Maybe not. Changes his mind here. Does go for 2 cards. Maybe to the bottom instead. We'll see. Does go for 2 to the bottom instead. So does just choose to cycle, not wanting to keep 2 cards to the top here. And Vespa will take his 6-don turn now. No ramp at all from the side of Yin there. We talked about 5k swing, 6k block from Nami. Will the Marco turn sideways to clear this Usohachi? I'm not too sure if that's gonna be worth it, honestly. 6-don, we can see something like a Pilaf, then there it is, draws 2 cards for Vespa. Really happy to see those. Of course, in hand, would be happier to see them in live. And we're gonna see Impel Down All-Stars here, just used. Can use to discard 2 cards, keep his hand small, maybe avoid a pudding or something like that. Does in fact drop a Snake Dance and a Desert Spada, keeping his hand at, I guess, around 5 to maybe dissuade Yin from dropping a pudding. This is a pretty interesting choice here, because he does have a Sanji's Pilaf in hand, so I'm assuming he does want to see that still stay in his hand. God's Tread comes down to KO that 4-cost Marco. Maybe he's choosing not to KO the Marco actually, which is why we do need a judge's clarification here, but that would be an interesting choice. So God's Tread does come down, and we are in fact not KOing that Marco. He just drops a Zorojiro and passes back to Vespa. So God's Tread does say up to 1 of your opponent's characters, so you can choose 0. And there is another Sanji's Pilaf from Vespa. He does go up to 8 cards in hand now. And there is the 1-cost Nami on the board. Vespa doing his best to play around Pudding for sure. That Charlotte Pudding, very, very powerful card. We saw how much work it did in the Singapore Grand Asia Open, and we're seeing just the threat of it, forcing Vespa to play things like the Impel Down All-Stars to reduce his own hand size by 2. Now it is going to be 9-cost Sanji here, taken off the top 5 for Yin, so we'll have that 9+9 coming down this turn, or 9+8 maybe. And it is just going to be Gravity Blade instead, actually. So that is going to be why that was chosen to not God Thread and KO this PRB Mako last time. Now let's see the choice. It is going to be Nami and then the Mako sent to the bottom of Vespa's deck. Do note, guys, you can choose the order in which these cards are sent to the bottom, and that is going to be an important interaction, especially in this matchup. Now 5k swing from the Zorojuro here. We can see two of those active Dawn again attached to that Usohashi to go for another 5k swing, unless Vespa has something like the White Snake available. It is going to be that White Snake allows Vespa to draw one and sets his leader to 6k base, putting him on level playing field with Yin now. 7k swing maybe, or 6k swing only from this Nami. It is going to be a 6k swing. Nami into Nami. Whole Cake Island versus East Blue, fighting her shadows of her past. And now she has the big old Climber Sorcery Perfect tact, whereas in the OP03 Nami, she is holding a literal wooden stick. So that is 1000 power difference, alright, for sure. So Vespa will have to counter out of this with only 1k, has gotten a little boost from Smoker. The White Snake effect will allow Vespa to only need one counter. That is the Rubber Band of Doom, giving plus 2k, and here is a 7k swing now from leader, requiring another 2k counter. Is there another Rubber Band of Doom available for Vespa? Let's see if that is available. It is going to be Desert Sparta instead here. So top 3, Hanger Sun available, White Snake as well as a Love Beam. So that is a pretty decent top 3 to see here. Hanger Sun will allow Vespa to artificially get a block off, although Yin does have that Usohachi on board, so not as impactful as he would like, not allowing a leader or a Zorojuro swing to be absorbed instead, but still a pretty nice, you know, block. So does leave all 3 cards on the top of his deck. I didn't see what order they went back in, but I am gonna assume he's going to draw into that Hanger Sun. So might be attaching Dawn into this Nami to try and swing into that Zorojuro. However, Yin did leave one Dawn open, is going to be able to protect even a 8k swing into this Nami very, very easily. Yin still having like 7 cards in hand as well, so not too worried about anything here. I will say Vespa still at 5 life, still pretty happy with that position, I think. Let's see what he decides to do with this Tendon. There is the Hanger Sun that I mentioned. He's going to rest it, discard 1, draw 1 card. Discards an Apis here, so 2k counter actually sent to the trash. Is a searcher as well for any East Blue type characters. And Vespa decides to not even swing 5 into this Zorojuro, not wanting to let Yin use that Gum Gum Giant to set his, like, cycle his 2 cards from his top of his deck. So sends the remaining cards to the bottom here instead of on top, so that 9-cost Sanji we saw earlier is probably not going to make its debut just yet. And I think all the more happier for it. Sanji would not like to be hurting Nami here. We're going to see White Snake on leader in response to the 4k swing of Zorojuro into Hanger-san. This is a perfectly legal play, by the way. You can add counter to things that are not the current target of the attack. You just probably usually wouldn't want to do that, but Vespa is just gonna do that here. Maybe he's digging for a Snake Dance or something to bring this Hanger-san back to hand. And does instead go for the Love Beam, allows him to draw another card here. Doesn't look like he picked up that Snake Dance, and it is going to mean bye-bye Hanger-san. Hanger-san famously scammed out of several outfits by Nami in Loketown. So, 6k swing from Nami again into Nami. We're gonna see Vespa draw a card with a Love Beam, and there's another 6k swing from the blue-purple Luffy leader this time. Another 1k guard required from Vespa to counter out of this attack. Does he want to counter, or will he take his first of 5 lives? I think Vespa will definitely want to leave those lives there as long as possible to absorb hits from big hitters like Katakuri, Sanji, and 9-cost Lin Lin. But if he just doesn't have any cards to discard, I'm sure it's an option to just take here as well. It is going to be a take for Vespa here. Does take that 6k swing that we mentioned. 9-cost Sanji blind into Charlotte Pudding. Thinking about it, chooses not to activate, which is fairly interesting as well. So no second body of this 9-cost Sanji for Yin. I wonder what the decision making choice there is. Vespa does go for another Hanger Sun. Does discard and then draw one again. It is gonna be Rubber Band now. 8 Dawn left for Vespa. Will he swing? He goes for a 4-cost Marco here again and passes to Yin with 4 Open Dawn. So Yin top 5 again, looking for a Straw Hat Crew type card, adding that to hand and then placing the remaining cards. Elsewhere, 9-cost Luffy Rush here, sending the remaining cards to the bottom. That is pretty good. I see Red Rock available for Yin, so able to get rid of this Marco again without letting Vespa draw is an option. It is going to be the Red Rock on that 4-cost Marco, so 9-cost Luffy not making his debut this turn. 3k swing into Hanger Sun here. Now, that 9-cost Sanji is going to be turning sideways very, very shortly into Vespa, and that's going to be quite the scary attacker. 2 Dawn onto Zoro, forcing a 6k swing here. 2 Dawn left for Yin to spread out among his remaining attackers. So we can see something like 6-6-10, 6-7-10, 6-8-9. But against Nami, you do want to attack with 4k counter as the breakpoint. Vespa just doing a quick count of his deck. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. It looks like around 20 cards left in deck. 3 of them added back by Yin himself with that Gravity Blade and the Red Rock earlier. 2, 3, 4. Only 4 cards available for Vespa, so actually kind of scary position for him. And I'm assuming that's probably why we didn't see Yin go for that pudding. Maybe he had around like 4 cards in hand as well before the pudding, and we didn't want to, of course, shuffle Vespa's deck and let him draw 5 new cards when he only had 4. So that might have been the case. 1k counter with the Zeph here. 3 cards remaining. Here's another 6k swing from Nami. Will be a take from Vespa. Counter event. It is gonna be Desert Spada. Draw 2, discard 1 on trigger. That is I believe another Zeph sent to the trash. Here's a 7k swing now from UP Luffy leader. 2k counter required. Vespa doesn't have it, doesn't want to drop it. And there's a 9k swing now from Sanji. 4k counter needed. A Gum Gum Gavel, a Love Love Beam would do the trick. Vespa shaking his head, maybe doesn't have something like that available. Judge, just making sure this Sanji is from last turn. This turn was Yin's Red Rock turn. So will Vespa counter out of this 9k swing? It is only 4k counter. However, he may be cooking something beyond our understanding. The Thai Namis definitely have a little bit more experience on the deck than I do. I'm not super familiar with it for sure in comparison. However, this deck was very annoying back in the day, I must admit. Here is the Gum Gum Gavel that is going to counter out of this Sanji swing and discards another Gum Gum Gavel and mills into another Gum Gum Gavel and a Love Love Beam. That's not what you want to see for sure. Vespa not too happy with that. Rolls back to his turn. Is 10 Dawn again, but only 4 cards in hand available. Here's the first Kaya we see played by Vespa. Draws 2 and discards 2. Yin just counting counter events available. 2 White Snakes, 3 Love Love Beams, 3 Gavels it looks like out already. 3 White Snakes, 3 Love Love Beams, 3 Gavels all out. And still quite a few things as well. And there is Kaya discarding Impel Down All Stars and another Kaya actually. So losing 1 Kaya here is definitely less than ideal. However, gets to play another PRB Marco on the board. On KO will be able to draw 2. However, Yin draws and Uso Hachi will be resting that Marco probably. However, even if he does rest that Marco, remember Yin has that 9-cost Luffy in hand. Not being able to play that character is still a plus, I think, for Vespa. That 10k swing is very, very scary after all. Here is a 5k swing into the leader of Vespa. Love Beam counters out of it, draws a card. However, Vespa only 3 Dawn left. Here is a 5k swing from Zorojiro now. 3 Dawn left. There is that 4th Gum Gavel. Discards a card, mills 2, and then gets 4k counter. 6k swing now from UP Luffy leader. Vespa, I believe, has no cards in hand, maybe. So just has to take this and hope for a trigger. Sanji's Pilaf! Huge trigger now for Vespa. 9k swing now from Yin with the 9-cost Sanji. And if it goes through, there is a 10k swing from the Nami coming. Yin just saying, if you have it, you have it. There is gonna be Rubber Band, draws 1, mills 1, 10k swing from 5-cost Nami. We're gonna see what Vespa drew here. Does he have an answer? He does not, and it is going to be Yin's game here. Vespa not able to counter out. Only 9 cards left in deck, so is quite a shame. 10 cards left in deck, sorry. So is quite a shame that he was not able to make it out here. That being said, we are going to move into the other group here, where it is Blackbeard versus Blue Purple Luffy. So looking at the board states now, 2 Jesus Burgess on the side of Pasapon. Peter does have a 8-cost Katakuri as well as a 9-cost Lin. Looks like there's about 20 cards in stretch for Pasapon, so that is gonna be a 10k base Jesus Burgess right now, and Peter is considering a 14k swing onto that Jesus Burgess. 5 Dawn looking to be given to one of these characters, and it looks like Peter has Red Rock available in hand, so could get rid of that active Jesus Burgess as well. And a lot of counter available. Gum Giant, Thunder Bagua, all in the hand of Peter. We're gonna see 4 Dawn attached to Charlotte Lin, and that is a 13k swing, sorry, 13k swing into this Jesus Burgess. Doesn't have the counter, and oh, it looks like there's actually more than 20 cards in trash, because Pasapon just put that Jesus Burgess way off screen, and there's the Red Rock on this Jesus Burgess, sending it to the bottom of Pasapon's deck, and back to Pasapon's turn. 10 Dawn available. Does he have a good play here? Only 2 cards left in hand. As we know, the Blue Purple Luffy tends to starve the Blackbeard here in this matchup, letting him slowly run out of resources, and then Blue Purple Luffy of course draws 2 cards every turn. Blackbeard loses 2 cards every turn. There is going to be a huge discrepancy in the resource battle here. Now 4 Dawn attached to the Blackbeard for a 9k swing. This is very easily blocked plus 2'd by this 8-cost Katakuri, but it is going to be Gum Giant here, letting Peter cycle out. He does drop a gear second, and there is the 6-cost Kuzan blocker from the new Teach starter deck, and then leader effect, putting Pasapon at 0 cards in hand now. So let's see how Peter responds. Goes for his top 5 search, grabs the 6-cost Sanji blocker, and sends the remaining 4 cards to the bottom of his deck. He does not have access to on-plays this turn still, because Pasapon with his last remaining hand card still chooses to deny any of that shenanigans from Peter. And then we're going to see Pasapon draw for turn, and this card is likely going to be immediately trashed for the Blackbeard leader effect. So 10 Dawn on Blackbeard leader, 15k swing into leader, forcing a block or 9k counter from, sorry, 10k counter from Peter. Only 2 Dawn available for him though. 2 Gum Giants in hand. However, it is just gonna be a block with the 8-cost Katakuri. Pasapon discards his remaining hand card again, not letting Peter have his on-play effects. This 6-cost Kuzan is still on board though. There is a Zorojiro taken from Peter, remaining 4 cards sent to the bottom of his deck. Goes back to his turn, draws for turn. 10 Dawn available, and this Charlotte Lin and Charlotte Katakuri mother-son combo still on the board. 5-cost Nami coming down now for Peter. 3 Dawn more. There is Zorojiro, passes back to Pasapon. There is going to be a stage drawn from Pasapon. Again, 15k swing, discards the card for his leader effect. Again, 0 cards in hand, back to Peter again. This is such a grind matchup for both of these players. However, when it comes to the long game, do not bet against Blue Purple Luffy. He is going to look at his top 5 now again. Both players just confirming contents of the trash here. Let's see if he can make away with the last few turns here. 8 minutes 41 seconds left on the clock. Peter taking another 5-cost Nami blocker from that top 5. Remaining 4 sent to the bottom again. Maybe looking for something like G-Blade or Red Rock again to send more cards to the bottom of Pasapon's deck and not triggering those very crucial on KO effects. 9 cards left for Pasapon. And do note that he does have the Hachinosu on board, however, isn't able to use it out of fear of decking out. So has not felt the need to turn that stage sideways and has in fact felt the need to leave it standing. Here's a 5k swing from the Zorojo. Pasapon gladly takes cards to hand now. 6k swing now from leader. Not sure if Pasapon's first life was a 2k counter that will allow him to counter out of this. However, even so, it is not going to be countered out. 8k swing now from Charlotte Katakuri. Does also go to Pasapon's hand. 9k swing from Charlotte Linen. Will the Kuzan block here to get one of his Blackbeard pirates back onto the board? There it is, blocks, and Jesus Burgess returns to the field and may go right back to the bottom of Pasapon's deck. There is a Gravity Blade brought to the front of Peter's hand. Pasapon maybe a little bit greedy here, not going for the 5-cost Kuzan, instead going straight for the Burgess, wanting to go for that push, for that attack right away. It looks like there's like maybe 9. Actually, I can count the cards in deck, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then there's I think 8 cards in his deck, so 14. Like 35 cards in trash for Pasapon, which means this Jesus Burgess is 13k base right now. Kind of crazy. 5-cost Nami does go down for Peter. He sets that Charlotte Katakuri and Charlotte Lin active again, draws for turn. And we're going to see him maybe use Hachinosu here. I'm going to assume he has full knowledge of the remaining 7 cards, it looks like, in his deck. Maybe 8. So we'll be able to search for any card he wants here with that Hachinosu. 10 Dawn turn. Is there going to be like a 10-cost new gate? 10-cost Blackbeard, sorry, available for him? So let's see how this turn is going to develop for Pasapon. So he knows Gravity Blade, Red Rock. So that is the bottom X cards of his deck. And then the remaining ones, he sent there himself, probably with Hachinosu. Does discard that Hachinosu, grabs another Jesus Burgess. How will this turn play out? One more card discarded for leader effect. So puts this Jesus Burgess at like massive, gigantic, huge, huge swing. And it looks like a 5-cost Nami block is going to be the response to that. Only 3 cards in hand for Pasapon. Here, that is going to be that Nami block. 15k swing from leader again. I've played these games before. Here is the counter event, Gum Gum Giant. Dawn -2. Sorry, this is a block plus Gum Gum Giant. You're not allowed to do that, by the way, but does go for block into Gum Gum Giant, putting it at 12, now at 16, so counters out of that big 15k swing from Pasapon. Now Peter, top 5 again, will grab another card to his slowly dwindling hand size. However, Pasapon still going to struggle to deal with this 8-cost Katakuri. And that is the gear second taken for Peter. does have the Gravity Blade to answer this Jesus Burgess this turn, and can send everything sideways into Pasapon's face to put him at 0 life. So here is the draw for turn from Peter. Does go for a 5k swing with this Zorojuro, 1k counter with the Jesus Burgess. We saw him take off that Hachinosu Surge. Gravity Blade might come down here, get rid of this Jesus Burgess. 8k swing into leader from the 8 cost Katakuri. Pasapon probably considering what the odds are that the cards are in his life are maybe 2k counters, will really need that to counter off this 9k swing. There is 3 stronger, putting him at 11k, which is in fact stronger than Charlotte Linlin right now. However, there is gonna be that Gravity Blade come down, sending that Jesus Burgess to the bottom of Pasapon's deck, and pass turn back to Pasapon. Will he be able to answer this Charlotte Katakuri, which is in between him and victory? There's 10 cost Blackbeard, and that is going to come down, locking that 8 cost Katakuri. 5k swing into Zorojuro, countered out by an Usohachi, passing back to Peter. And Peter finally able to use on plays for the first time in God knows when. However, probably doesn't need it. With 0 cards available in Pasapon's hand, he will be able to turn his 3 characters sideways and probably take the game here. So first up, we are going to see 1 Don on Zorojuro, 5k swing. Pasapon takes it, triggers This Is My Era. 1, 2, 3 cards, gets Jesus Burgess back, the one that was sent to the bottom in the first place. Block with the 10 cost Newgate. However, a 16k swing is not blockable by Jesus Burgess. This is in fact not your era, Pasapon, and Peter takes the game here, going up to, I believe, a 2-0 score. And now we have one last game left in the Swiss. Let's see who is going to make it out.